Hiya. So this is a soul support question, which is coming from one of the members in my soul support group. And my person says, I don't seem to be able to envision or see a future that I want. You have discussed this topic and mentioned as to what realities am I aligned, fear-based or other. I don't necessarily know or can tell why am I not able to see into my future? And part two of this question is, what is a visionary? Okay, so there are many reasons why we might not be able to see our future. Now, this question comes from some of the work that I've been doing within a group of people who, the work we are doing is we are journeying into the future and visioning what the future is for us, for our soul, because the choices we make now create the future that we're living. And the work that we've been doing as a collective, as a group, has been not just looking at this incarnation and this lifetime, but looking forward, looking 2 or 3 lifetimes ahead. So looking into the next one, because as well as the choices that we make now create our reality in this lifetime, those same choices and how we relate to our life shapes our soul, colors the energy of our soul, what our soul then chooses to do in its next journey. So this is some of what we've been looking at within the group. Okay, so sometimes we simply can't. I'm looking out the window because I'm watching the birds and watching the robins. Sometimes it simply is that we cannot see the future because we haven't created it yet, because there are still choices that we need to make here and now, which will then allow us to envision that future. So basically, the short answer is you haven't yet made the choices that you need to be making in order to envision that future reality. All right. And that is a powerful place to be. It means that you are in the void, in winter, if you like. The void or winter is a time of reflection and deep questioning and deep, who am I? What am I here to do? What's going on? What's next? It's the time when everything rests, and out of that comes new growth and new fertility and new ideas and new creativity and choices. It is during that time of disconnection and winter and quietness and stillness where we cannot see what the future holds that we begin to consciously choose what it is that we want to create. Okay, so if you are sitting somewhere or in a time where you can't see the future, you can't get a glimpse of what comes next, it can mean that there are choices that you are making here and now before you are able to see that, before you are able to envision that, before you are able to imagine it. Okay, it can mean that there are things that need letting go of, things, people, relationships, belief systems, perceptions, ways of being that need to be released and let go of before you can envision that future. So an example, when I was a scuba diving instructor, I could never imagine myself doing something else. I didn't know what else I could do. Okay. I was happy. I was living my dream job and I was doing exactly what I had wanted to do since I was very young, which was teach scuba diving and take people swimming with dolphins and manta rays and whale sharks. And it was marvelous. And I got burnt out. Okay. And there began to be this deep dissatisfaction. There's something else, there's something more, but I don't know what it is. I didn't at that time know what it was. I couldn't see it because all of the experience I had was as a diving instructor. And until I actually was able to let go of that perception of myself as, well, I'm a scuba diving instructor, I couldn't begin to see and create what came next. Okay. And I couldn't see or create it because I had no experience of it. If I went back to that girl now as a scuba diving instructor and said, hey, in 20 years' time, you are going to have been doing bodywork techniques and working with the energy of people's souls and soul energy and color therapy and massage, I would have wondered what planet the person I was talking to came from. Okay. So there was no basis within the reality that I was experiencing at that time for what was going to come next. And sometimes when we cannot envision, when we cannot see the future, it is because we have no experience of it, no basis in which to be able to frame it. So there's two aspects. Coming back to the question, there's two aspects when we cannot envision a future. Sometimes it's because we are sitting in the creative void where we need to let go, reframe, begin our choice question process, let go of what no longer resonates with us as we journey forward. And then the second part is that until we have had some experience of what it is we are going to be living in that future, we cannot envision it. We cannot see it because it is so different from the reality that we are currently within. Okay. A friend of mine went through a stage where she couldn't see the future. She knew she wanted more harmony, more happiness, more joy, more love, more connection. She knew the essence and the energy of what it was that she wanted to be experiencing, but she couldn't see what it looked like in physical manifestation terms, where she would be living, the house, etc., etc., etc. And she kept trying to create it in her head of what she wanted to be experiencing, of what it would look like, the physical structures. And she reached a point where she had to let go of imagining it and sit with just the feeling, just the emotions of what it would be like to be happy, to be in a space of joy, to be deeply loved, to be nourished, to be nourishing, to be in work that was deeply rewarding. And she sat with those emotions. And over a period of 6 years, everything that had been familiar within her life at that time began to fall away. And she is now living this life, which is far beyond what she would have dreamt for herself at the beginning of that process. She's happily married. She has a flourishing, nourishing, thriving business working with women in London, looking at how they nourish themselves and nourish their lifestyles. And she and her husband are co-owners of a vineyard in France. And she runs retreats there. And there's so much which has happened that at the beginning of the whole process, she couldn't have imagined, partially because she was holding on to her life as it was so strongly. And where she was living a life where she had very little income. She was happy and she was living in a strong sense of community, and it was good, but it wasn't flourishing, it wasn't thriving. And as she began to let go of that and feel the emotions of what she wanted to create, that dissolved and it created space for this other to come in. Okay. Part two of the same soul support question is, what is a visionary? Okay. A visionary, I'm a visionary. One of the experiences that I've had has been, well, many of the experiences that I've had is that although I sit here and now in physical time and space, I have had glimpses throughout my life of what the future looks like. It started as a child. It continued as a teenager. It was happening when I was a scuba diving instructor, even though I wanted to deny it. And it has happened that I also have visions of what the planet looks like in 120 to 200 years. Okay, so a visionary is somebody who has glimpses of the future. Okay, it's a two-layered answer again. Okay, a visionary is somebody who has visions of the future, is one aspect. And a visionary is also somebody who has a dream of what it is in the future and works towards creating it. So Martin Luther King was a visionary. He believed in a cultural shift. Nelson Mandela is another visionary. We have visionaries sprinkled throughout our culture and throughout our history, people who have a belief in a future which is different to the reality that they are currently living, that is positive in some way, that the life circumstances for themselves and for all beings is better than where they are right now. So a visionary is somebody who believes in the future, who works to create it, and who holds a vision, a sense of something more, something greater than where we currently are. I hope that helps. If it does, pop a link, pop a comment in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, get in touch, and I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you have a marvelous day.